Okay, welcome to our 6-part series. We're number 5 of 6-part series on the book, The 6 Secrets to Profound Self-Love by Margaret Paul, PhD. I'm Alan. This is Corolla.
Hi.
With me is our co-host, Diane McConnell, PhD. Hello, Di. So, yeah, we've had a lot going on. You've had a lot going on. Did you have a chance to give this a look much, Di?
I did, and I have something to share.
Let's hear it.
So I am currently spending some time on the island. So I'm in Comox and taking care of a couple of friends' dogs and their house while they took their children on vacation to Europe. And another friend visited out here just this week, and he created an opportunity for me to meet with a fellow by the name of Ryan Walter. Do you know that name?
I do not.
Well, Ryan Walter is an NHL, or was an NHL hockey player and a star. He played on a couple of teams. He's in the BC Sports Hall of Fame. His list of accomplishments is this big. Mm-hmm. And he's a motivational speaker, and he's a coach, and he does training, and he's written 5 books.
Wow.
And I had the opportunity to have coffee with him and have a chat. Yeah. And the book that he gifted me is this book.
Hungry.
And it's Fueling Your Best Game. And so I've been reading that book, and the information that he gives you really aligns with the work that we're talking about. Really? And the interesting thing in his book, and his whole book is written on this foundation. There are 3 teams. There's an inner team, there's an outer team, and there's a team. And each of those 3 teams have different channels of fluid or different sources of fluid. And so the first inner team, the 3 sources or channels of fluid, one of them is believing. Another one is purpose and passion. And the third one is future thinking, or I can't remember the exact word that he used, but it's really about thinking about your vision or your end in mind. And when I've been reading, and he has exercises in this book on those 3 things, it really aligns with the book that we're talking about, because it just gives you some tools and some practical application of that information. And so I was really excited about that.
Yeah.
I can hardly wait to come Tuesday, because I've got something to offer. But he was super. He was really, really, really good. And I think the thing that I walked away from him feeling and learning and thinking about from the time that I've met with him is that you really need to do that inner team work around figuring out what excites you, what ignites you, what he has an exercise in here to say, you've just woken up in the morning. What are the 4 things that you're excited to do today? And think about what those are. And I really think that aligns with the process and the theories and the learning about healing. Mm-hmm. Because I think that gets lost, right? When you get a wound, or when you've had an exposure to trauma, tragedy, adversity. I talk about possibilities, opportunities in the face of adversity. This is just another lens or another tool that folks could have access to that helps you actually do that. We're all talking about the same thing. We just talk about it in different ways. Yes. We all talk about it with different stories. And that's really a good thing, because you're going to hear my story, or you're going to hear his story, or you're going to hear your story or somebody else's, and it's going to land, because people are different, right? So you need to have lots of different examples, lots of different stories. In fact, the fundamental belief that I had for my son Ben, that was blind, in terms of vocabulary and words, acquisition and learning words, this is the belief that I had for him. I imagined that his vocabulary was an empty, huge swimming pool, and I was filling it with his experience to words. This word, this word, this word, reading, because I believed the more words that he had in his swimming pool, the better off he would be, or the advantage he would have in understanding meaning when people are using different words that maybe he hadn't heard before. But if they're in a swimming pool, he's going to be able to understand that meaning. Does all of this make sense, what I'm talking about?
Yeah, you bet. You bet. You are very loquacious this evening. You're rolling there, sister.
Yeah, I did lots. I did lots. I was discombobulated last week. My technology wasn't working. I hadn't read the chapter, and I thought, oh my gosh, I got to show up this week.
Nice. Well, that's great. And isn't it true? You see so many parallels, right? You read something, oh yeah, this is really, we're saying the same thing. We're saying it in a different way. We're telling different stories, as you've said. And basically that's great. We need to find the ones that speak to us and resonate with us and help us to kind of move forward, right? What were your insights there, honey?
For this, I haven't, I was just ready to read the part that I thought was interesting.
Go for it.
Okay. I thought like the two, because this one, it basically says, it's loving actions, right? And so basically that the willingness and intent and exploring self and talking to God do nothing if you don't have loving action. So it appears to be a very important aspect of this healing, right? And it says there's no healing without loving action. As long as you continue to treat yourself and others the way you've been treating yourself and others, you will continue to re-wound yourself. Moment by moment, day by day, each loving action heals a bit of your ego-wounded self. You must be patient, for this is a lifetime process. You must be devoted and disciplined, practicing these steps moment by moment, day by day. And then the one thing that I thought was quite interesting.
Roy seems happy.
Yeah. The thing I thought was really interesting.
He was at the same coffee meeting.
As you pursue discovering the loving actions for yourself, and you courageously take the loving actions, you will contribute to my evolution, the evolution of God, which is why you came to the planet. I thought that was quite interesting, that last bit. So,
yes.
So those are the things that I thought, were quite, how important this loving actions is, right? That it's a fundamental part. You can't have any of the others without this one, it sounds like to me. Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense, right? I mean, everything else is kind of to get you to this stage so that you can take action. Now you know what action you want to take that's going to best serve you in your evolution, which your evolution is evolution of humanity, it appears, if you're on your soul's purpose. I think that's how it works. I think
and if you're traumatized, you tend to not feel very highly of yourself, right? So by taking the loving actions, by standing up for yourself and taking care of yourself, how many times do you hear people exercise and then they feel better about themselves, right?
Right.
They do the next step and the next step, right? So it's kind of gaining confidence by being kind to yourself a little bit, right?
Right. So taking the actions that that are going to bolster you.
The Spirit, is that right? That the Spirit, he tells that he's going to maybe tell you to do some things, right? In fact, quite a lot of this starts, I may tell you.
I may tell you, right. But look at it. I may tell you to start to write. I may tell you to draw. I may tell you to play an instrument. I tell you to tent. It's like
those are the positive ones. There are some, there were some that were the ones that. Do I have the right page? No, that's why it's not working up for me. He also says stop smoking, stop drinking. Right? I may tell you to stop. So he kind of starts out with the things he may tell you to take away from your life to give you.
The things that
they're unloving actions, right? To yourself. Yeah.
Cool.
What do you think, Alan?
Well, to be honest, I kind of got let this slip behind me.
You got the Corolla's condensed version before we came here. So.
Exactly. I read the book a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and then I didn't actually I think this one didn't speak to me as much. And I think why is because I think it's kind of a natural outflow, right? If you're doing those other things, you're having that awareness and you're being open to kind of the guidance to guide you along, well, then if you're going to get that guidance, then that you'd act on the guidance would make sense, right? Would be kind of the logical thing that would flow next. But then that being said, what is chapter 6 going to be for our next one?
Evaluating it.
Evaluating.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Evaluating it.
I don't know. I really, like, as a person who, I was super shy as because of my trauma and very introverted and I feel like I've been quite naive. And so for me, I understand that this will heal me, right? Like by taking care of myself, because I never took care of myself really. Well, I did, but not in the sense of this, not the loving actions towards myself. I took care of myself. I didn't have the loving actions always, maybe, or didn't do it that. I don't know. I like the part that it heals you. That's what I think is really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cool.
Does it make sense in terms of feeling really doable, Carola?
I think so. I do like the part where it says, don't be impatient, right? It's gonna take a lifetime, and I can, I see I've been on that path, and I'm still on that path, right? Of, making sure that I take care of myself. I used to take care of everybody else all the time, right? And there was never that much left for me in the end, kind of thing. So I can see here, that you are healing your wounded self by taking care of by having loving actions, right? By not smoking, right? And not drinking, and then doing, doing whatever if you want to write, if you want to draw. So yeah, it does. How about to you, Diane?
When I said earlier that it's really wonderful to have a number of different thought leaders out there, because they're all saying the same thing, but some you can hear and some you can't.
Yep.
And some you listen to and then you're thinking about them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll go to a session. I mean, Wayne Dyer was one of those for me.
Sure.
And Louise Hay. I go to their session and I think about it, and I would write about it, and I'd quote it, and I would tell people, wow, this, because there would be embedded lessons, and I would talk about it. So it really was shape-shifting me, because I could really hear him.
You bet.
I haven't had the experience with this book. I know that I can identify and relate to the lessons. They're good. But I've heard those lessons through other people that speak to me differently, that allows me to hear it in my way.
Sure.
So I think that's a really important message.
I do understand the Wayne Dyer, because I read a lot of Wayne Dyer books as well, like, maybe 10 years, in the last 10 years, more so early last 10 years than later, and spoke a lot to me about healing and such too. So I totally understand what you're saying. Mm-hmm. This just seems very simple to me, right? Like it doesn't, like Wayne Dyer would have, or some of the other authors might have examples, and that sometimes speaks to you a little bit better too, maybe, right? Yeah. Where you have an example of someone who did this and then they improved their life, right? So, this doesn't really do that. It just kind of tells you stuff.
For me, the best part of the book, which I know I've shared this several times, that to me, it's such a profound insight, is when they're talking in here about, we've all had things happen to us when we were little, and when we were, the pain or the thing was too uncomfortable, too big for us. So we learn to move out of our body into your head to avoid the pain. You learn to avoid and numb your feelings with sugar, other junk food, nicotine, alcohol, drugs, TV, pornography, or other addictions. Or you learn to be very good, giving yourself up, very bad, getting into trouble, or to get angry or blaming or to resist, all to avoid the pain you could not manage. And so I love that kind of just the simplicity of that, which makes sense that if you're looking at your behavior and you're choosing things that are, to be not good for you, then the question is why? Like, why are you doing that, right? If I'm not wearing my seatbelt, why am I not wearing my seatbelt? Do I not care enough for my well-being? Like, so like, I think that's kind of, I think it kind of puts the focus on that for you to have love to share, you have to have love for yourself. And the more love you have for yourself, the more automatic those good choices will come to you, because this body temple, you're going to say, oh, I'm going to choose this. I'm going to choose the salad instead of the burger. I'm going to, that kind of a thing. Just, I think those things kind of automatically come to you. Or that's maybe, if it's not my experience, it's what I'm telling myself is true. So I'm trying to make better choices, right? I think I have a loop, if you will. I'm going to make better choices because I love this body temple. I want to regard it as best I can and make it work as best I can. And so I'm going to make good choices. So it's kind of like a loop that I think I got happening, maybe, sort of. 40 days, no sugar, no caffeine.
Is it 40 days already?
I think, too, the important message here is that it's healing, right? Like
Yes.
It says, the more loving actions you take, the more personally empowered you will feel. Every loving action you take lets you know you are capable of taking loving action for yourself. Each loving action lets your inner child know that he or she is worthy of loving. Each loving action gives your soul more room to express who you really are. You recreate yourself with each, right? So
yes.
it's about, right? Like you recreate yourself by having, by doing these loving actions, and not doing actions that are detrimental to you, right?
Yeah. And so doing the loving action creates, like, everybody talks about the frequency that you get to the right frequency in doing the loving action, right? Yeah. So I do something loving for you. I have that experience for me. My frequency increases, right? I get my little dopamine hit that that was a good thing.
For sure.
Yeah. But I feel like the three of us are experienced in terms of lots of history in reading some of this work and being in touch with lots of different thought leaders. But I feel like the practical application of it is missing in a way, like the story or whatever. So take a loving action. I think that lots of the people that I've worked with in my work wouldn't know what that means.
Got it. Yeah.
Well, and they do kind of tell you some of that, right? Like,
they say, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, don't do
or
this.
Do this, and do this, or do this, right?
Yeah. So I feel like it's simplistic in its form, and so therefore it's really quick and easy to read. Right. But I feel like there should be a little bit more example story to spark some aha in people.
And did you have any insights while you're reading this as to those aha sparking type things that you would share? Hey, here, this would be a loving action that would have been a good example in this part of the book. You're an author.
No pressure.
I think that my opening kind of experience with respect to the book on Hungry gives some really good practical application, because what he does when he talks about, and I think this book really is focusing on that inner game or that inner team that he talks about. And he does he has the three fuels: purpose and passion, belief, and the other one, what did I say it was? It was futuring. So thinking about what the future is. Yeah. He has a chapter on each one of those. And he does give really good examples. So if you are trying to find purpose and passion, this is what that means. This is what it might feel like. This is the things that you could try. Here's an exercise that you could practice, and I'll walk you through it.
Nice.
So,
nice. For sure. Like, there's like Alan, we pointed out here, it says, I may tell you, well, how are we going to know that entity is talking to us? Right? Like, I may tell you, like, how do we get them to tell us, and how do we know it's them telling us then, right?
Well, Di, Corolla, is it like, have we kind of mined as much as we can out of this book?
There's one more, so we may as well finish it.
Yeah, should we do that? Should we continue on right now?
I haven't read chapter 6 yet.
I understand.
I've read it once, but not.
But they're fairly simple, as Di is saying. I just suggested, Di, do you want to just carry on, move right into 6 right now, thinking that 5 was maybe a little light with actionable type things?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Six is about, and I was really happy to see it because, and in all of our work, it's here's the thing that's going wrong, or here's the thing that we want to address. Here's the thing we want to improve. Here's the thing we want to fix, whatever language you want to put on it. This is what I'm working towards. So here's my end in mind. This is what I would like it to feel like. This is what I would like it to be like. And therefore, we explore some actions to get us there, some of the things that we need to do in terms of what's the work. But the very last thing is, and so what's the evidence to show us that we've actually moved forward, that we're actually improving, that we are actually accomplishing what it is that we set out to do. So that's what her chapter is about.
So here it's basically like, are you having these feelings of peace or safety or fun or whatever? Yeah.
Yeah. What do you notice has changed? So you started reading my book. I gave you some tools for your toolbox, each of the chapters. You know, you have to believe, you have to connect, you have to do your own work. So at the very end, she's saying, so what difference has that made?
Right.
Start to identify what's the evidence that you are on the path to healing. What's the evidence that you are feeling a sense of well-being and wellness and wholeness and that kind of thing. That's kind of what I saw in the last chapter. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, it sure does.
And I think that's a really important piece.
Yeah, exactly.
Every piece should have that.
Yes.
And in teaching, you know what you have to teach, you know what you're trying to accomplish, but then you have to really identify, so what's my evidence to show that I've actually done it?
Right.
Or that it's actually happened.
Right.
So here's the goal I have for my students. What's the evidence that I can show you that those students have actually met that goal?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
So that's what this is about.
Right. And this is where we're self-evaluating whether the change in practice is the change from just the process of reading and following the steps in the book as best as we understood them. What is the impact that's had for us is basically what she's asking us to evaluate. So.
Right. So in this book on hungry, when he talks about purpose and passion, he explains it. He gives a dictionary definition of purpose. What's purpose? And he gives you all kinds of information that you think about, you practically apply to yourself. And then he gives you an exercise to say, so here's the exercise. When the alarm goes off on Monday morning, what can't you wait to get going on? And he made a table, and there's 4 rows on the table, and you're supposed to fill it out. And so if you're able to fill that out to say, oh, it's Monday morning, I can't wait to get going on this and this and this, it gives you a window into your purpose and your passion, because you're really excited to do this. This is what I see I need to do. This is what I meant to do. I'm excited to do this. So it starts to give you some feedback, some information to your purpose and your passion.
Have you done this exercise? You just started reading the book, but did you do this morning? Did you say, hey, what are the 3 things I'm so excited about this morning?
No, because it's Tuesday. He said on Monday morning. It's only Tuesday. Ask me on Monday.
All right, good. I'm not big on details sometimes, as you might notice. So, okay, got it. So next Monday, you're going to do this. That'd be good. Yes. Excellent.
One thing I do think about this book is it was an ebook that was given for free.
Oh, yes.
And I think it's a little bit like of an introduction into her program.
Yes.
Right? Like I know here she has one that's a Love Yourself 30-day inner bonding program, right? So
if you go to innerbonding.com, she has a whole bunch of programs. Some are free, some are with cost. And but
what I'm saying is this is simple because it was probably intended to be simple, right?
Yes.
Had we gone to maybe one of her other books here, it probably would have been more like the Hungry book, I suspect, right? I think this one was to give us a taste of her work.
Very well said. Yeah, that makes sense.
I think you're absolutely right in terms of the book and building a kind of a practice around the book.
Yeah.
You need to give people a little flavor or a sense of what they could be looking forward to or what they're in for if they're kind of starting to go down that path. So you're absolutely right. So I'm not
we
being
listen to her,
critical.
right? Yeah. No, I'm just thinking, like, we listened to her in that one set of lectures and such, right?
Right.
And then this was the free gift that
Right.
she gave up. But I suspect it's like kind of the free gift that is hopefully going to draw you into more
Right.
more substantial teaching and stuff,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So I think that's one, like, because this is a 30-day inner program, and this is not a 30-day, this is just the 6 secrets, right? It doesn't really, I think that would get into more the do's or don'ts, or things
Definitely.
like that, right?
So we thank Margaret Paul, PhD, for her free book that we have discussed for the last, this is the 5th night.
Yeah.
But I think we're wrapping her up tonight is what I hear us saying, right? That we've
Right.
thanked her, we've reviewed it. I think we've gleaned some important things, and
So there is one more part here, like that
Yeah.
was chapter 6 we just kind of talked about. She does have a conclusion about reaping the benefits too, hey?
well, share it right now. What do you got there?
There's like 5 pages here, or 6 pages, so it should be read at least, I think.
Well, do you want to read it?
No, I don't. It looks like a lot of it's about forgiving yourself,
It
right?
does.
And forgiving others.
You discuss your practice
and that it doesn't need to be immediate, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's kind of a more summary, right? You'll discover as you practice these 6 steps that you can forgive others for all their unloving behavior. You can forgive your parents for their woundedness, for not knowing how to love you. You will discover that you can even forgive abusers for abusing you, knowing that they did so out of their woundedness.
Yeah.
Forgiving them does not mean that you condone their unloving or abusive behavior. Forgiving them means that you no longer blaming them for your unloving and abusive behavior.
Doesn't even mean you have to hang out with them or want to be with them, or right.
But they're basically saying, I'm not going to be unloving because of what happened to me.
You've taken responsibility to heal your wound, and the rest is up to them as far as the rest, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Okay.
It also talks about that you may find yourself in prayer more throughout the day, right? And that would be prayer to guide you in the steps, right?
Just like the song by Alan Jackson. The older I get, the more I pray. I don't know why. I guess I just got more to say. Alan Jackson's lyric.
Well, the song, the Ella Fitzgerald, is that the song?
I don't know.
You sang it on Saturday, I think. Roy listened to you.
I sang Ella Fitzgerald on Saturday?
Yeah, what song did you sing? Wasn't that the
It's been 4 days of him singing since then, Diane. He won't remember Saturday.
Oh, you know what? This one I've been singing lots. Maybe this is one you're thinking of. There's a light, a certain kind of light, never shone on me. I want my life to be here with you, baby. You don't know what it's like. You don't know what it's like to love somebody, oh, love somebody the way I love you. Was it like that?
No, I'm going to ask him.
Ella Fitzgerald?
Roy,
No, I don't know
what
where that.
song were you listening to Alan sing?
Sorry?
What song?
Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald.
Did you hear that?
No, what?
The wreck of the...
Oh, Edmund Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So he's been singing it for the last 2 days.
I see. Nice. That's Gordon Lightfoot. That's a Gordon Lightfoot song.
Yeah. So there, you had a view.
Woohoo!
Nice.
Look at that. Excellent. Good news.
Okay. So
we're wrapped up with this. Yes, I think we're concluding this is our last discussion about this book, correct?
Correct.
All right. Okay. And then we're at the drawing board of what we want to talk about next.
Correct. So
All
I can't meet next Tuesday because there's company coming to this place that I'm staying at. But
You know what?
that's on Tuesday. So let's think about between now and then what we want to do next. How about that?
unless you have any burning desire, we should probably just even wait till September. You know what I mean? For August, there's only a couple weeks in August, and there's always going to be something going on, right? So.
Okay.
Okay.
Love you guys.
Yeah,
Love you too. Thank
Have
you,
a great
Di.
night.
See ya. Bye,
See ya.
everyone.